To the November meeting of the Rochester City Council. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'll make note of the changes we've implemented, suspending in-person meetings temporarily in compliance with the executive orders. Our meeting is not taking place at council chambers, but rather through the use of video conferencing. During this time, we are continuing to offer access to the public by posting meeting information and materials on the city's website at www.cityofrochester.gov/public meetings, broadcasting our meetings live on the City Council's YouTube channel, and sharing on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and streaming live on City 12 TV. I would also note that our region is seeing an increase in COVID diagnosis. I want to encourage Rochester residents to follow CDC guidelines. Stay 6 feet apart from others, wear your mask when in public, and do your best to protect your circle. The meeting will come to order and the clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lupien.
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Pio.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here. I ask that council please join me in a moment of silence, and I ask you to keep in mind and lift up the families that are suffering so from the violence that is weighing on our city of late. Thank you. Councilmember Harris, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes by Councilmember Gruber.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting on October 13th, 2020 be approved as published in the official sheets of the proceedings.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record. The mayor submits the following quarterly report: delinquent receivables, September 30th, 2020, administrative cancellation or refund of erroneous taxes and charges, October 2020. The council submits disclosure of interest forms from Vice President Lightfoot on introductory number 378, Councilmember Gruber on introductory number 391, Councilmember Melendez on introductory number 379, and Councilmember Patterson on introductory number 378.
It's time for the presentation and reference of petitions and any other communications. Are there any petitions?
President Scott, I'd like to submit 19 signatures related to the quality of life issues on Katy Street.
Thank you. Those petitions will be received and filed. Before we move to reports of standing committees and actions thereon, we have a statement of necessity. I have submitted introductory number 396 with a statement of necessity. Introductory number 396 is legislation relating to the confirmation of the Police Accountability Board Executive Director. Before we move into questions and comments, I'd like to formally introduce this legislation for consideration. May I have a motion to introduce introductory number 396?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, the clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Let us vote on considering introductory number 396. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes, ma'am.
President Scott.
Yes. Now, before we vote on introductory number 396, I'd like to make a comment and then allow my colleagues to offer their questions and comments as well. This has been an interesting journey and really did not progress as we had expected or even desired initially as a confirmation. I guess it's always been my hope that the council would embrace the selection of the Police Accountability Board of their director. We know the tremendous amount of work that the PAB put into the search, the work done by volunteers with no compensation and only the hope of creating a more just city for all Rochesterians. I hope that the PAB knows that no matter how my colleagues or I vote tonight, our votes do not diminish the appreciation that we have for you and the work you've done. We're so grateful for the time, talent, and energy each of you devoted to this search. I can only imagine how each of my colleagues wrestled with this decision. I know that I did. I could see both sides of the equation. And even up until this very afternoon, this evening almost, I was not sure where I would arrive. I read the messages from the community. I reread the local law, the relevant sections of the city charter, and the memoranda sent to us related to board independence. I spoke with my friends, my colleagues, and advisors, even sought spiritual guidance from my pastor. This was not a decision I made lightly, nor that I made alone. I would now offer my colleagues the opportunity for comment or questions.
Madam President, I too feel similar to your sentiments that you just shared with each and every one of us and to the community. Being one of the individuals one of the three individuals, myself, yourself, and Councilmember Gruber, who sat at the table with the Police Accountability Board and the PABA, helping to draft or line by line, that is, hours and hours of time that was spent making sure that we got it right. And to have the situation that happened arise, I too was very troubled by what was going on. However, I would just offer for consideration as we move forward, regardless of how the vote may go, that I would offer that the Police Accountability Board leadership team and the City Council leadership team going forward have frequent meetings that are standard meetings that we meet on a monthly basis. The executive team for the leadership team for the police accountability and the executive leadership team for City Council. So that as we move forward, that we can continue to remain to work in collaboration and in partnership as we move this legislation or the police accountability efforts forward in our community. We need to be and continue to be on the same page. So I would offer that as consideration, regardless of how individuals may vote, that going forward, we have to keep the lines of communication open and we must work in partnership and collaboration together as we have done in the past to get to this point that we are now. But I've always supported the Police Accountability Board. I was one of the members to help draft and design the legislation line by line. Many hours have spent. I commend the Police Accountability Board and the PAB, all the volunteers, all of them who have worked so diligently, and all the ones who submitted their application to be an executive director for this particular organization, all of those who were considered. I thank the community for coming forward and look forward to continuing to work in the space of working collaboratively and in partnership to make sure that we have a just Police Accountability Board for our community and citizens of Rochester.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd be happy to say something very briefly, President Scott.
Councilmember Gruber?
I just want to echo the words of my colleagues, and it was a true honor and a privilege to co-write this legislation with President Scott and Vice President Lightfoot. And I agree that I don't think any of us wanted the past week with the confirmation hearing I don't think any of us wanted to feel the level of tension that we felt. But I will go directly to words that were in the memo that became the centerpiece of the confirmation hearing, which encouraged the PAB to exercise patience and to build cooperative relationships. That was right in there as recommendations. And I think that's true all around for City Council as well, and to develop cooperative relationships with the administration. I think all of us really, in order to make this legislation and this new body, this brand new body work the way we all want it to, it requires patience and building cooperative relationships, which also takes time. So, it has been an honor, and I'm looking forward to continuing to move this thing forward.
Any additional comments?
Madam President, I'll just say I want to thank the Police Accountability Board for their work, and also the Police Accountability Board Alliance for their work in this effort, because I think that naming an executive director is extremely important and also evidence of the hard work that has gone on in terms of bringing the Police Accountability Board to a fully functioning unit. And that is absolutely critical as we look at the challenges that we have in this city, particularly over the last couple of months. I think that it's important that the police accountability play an important role in those conversations. And in order for them to be able to play those important roles, it's important that they have an executive director. I think that it's important that we're all on the same page. As I said at the confirmation hearing last Thursday, I think the sequencing has to be right. I think we have to keep the main thing, the main thing. And what I mean by that is that I don't think that we can get distracted by things that are outlined and clear in the city charter. It's clear what the roles are there, and we need not get tripped up on those conversations, because if we do, it's going to take away from the important work I think that we have to go forward. And I think that we had a good conversation yesterday. I hope that those type of conversations will continue, but I hope in the long term we will continue to be able to see progress on this, because the citizens of Rochester demanded that. I always remind people that it was a vote of 70%, over 70% of the residents of Rochester that supported this Police Accountability Board. And I want to thank you, Madam President, for your work on this. I watched you back in 2017, before I even got on council, engage with the Police Accountability Board Alliance and drafting legislation. And I know that you have put in untold numbers of hours into this effort. And I'm sure I speak for many of my council members when I say thank you to you for all of your work that you've done to push this effort forward. And I think that this is a great thing that we're at this point where we're talking about an executive director after all of the conversations over the almost past 4 years of bringing this to fruition. So thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Lupia?
There you go. Thank you. I was really impressed with Mr. Reynolds. I've had the opportunity to meet with him a few times, and I was really blown away by his expertise and his passion for the work. It's clear that he was going to put in his blood, sweat, and tears to make the Police Accountability Board successful. And, I was disappointed that the memo and the interpretation of independence is really could get in the way of that. And so I haven't heard any of my colleagues express any doubt that Mr. Reynolds could do the job and do it well. And so I hope it's my hope that that is allowed to happen. The Police Accountability Board is very important to the work that we're going to be embarking on in the city. And he has already shown that he's hitting the ground running. And I worry that if we don't confirm tonight, that would be putting the work behind. So thank you.
Councilmember Melendez?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I understand and appreciate all the concerns around the appointment, especially from the 6 council members who are still here and work directly to pass this legislation. They were here when this was created. And I think all the concerns, I hope and believe, can be overcome and move forward. I think we're at a critical time. We have to respond to Executive Order 203 by April 1st with some reform recommendations. And I have met Connor as well, and I firmly believe he'll commit to the work. And with increased communication and collaboration with council and the PAB, I think we can move forward in a positive direction. So thank you.
Are there any additional comments? If not, we'll proceed to the vote.
I have a comment. President Scott.
Councilmember Harris. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to add my comments that I echo the remarks of my fellow colleagues on council and the PAB members who have worked tirelessly to get us here today, where we are today. It's important, and I want to emphasize that it is important that members of the board and the executive director work to focus within the scope that's outlined by the city charter and the City of Rochester Police Accountability Board rules and procedures adopted in March. It is my hope that we will continue to work together to make sure that the PAB maintains its integrity and its credibility. So I look forward to seeing the work that has been set forth by the community and the City of Council and the PAB and the PABA. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Peel.
Thank you, President Scott. I want to thank the council members who reached out to me. Being newer on city council, these are times where I look to y'all for your expertise that have already been on the board and have been here before. And I want to give a special shout out to the constituents who reached out as well, because, I love how people are so involved in the process in our city. So to everyone in Northwest that reached out, I want to give you guys a special thank you as well.
Okay. Then we will proceed to the vote. Okay. Let's vote on introductory number 396, the confirmation of the Police Accountability Board Executive Director. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes. The clerk will.
Okay.
Record
It
the-
passed 9-0.
Yes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You all have no idea how we got there. You have no idea how we spent the day.
No idea.
Some call it getting to yes. But there are a lot of, you have to work to get to yes, because there was not enough votes to get this done. And I actually wanted a unanimous vote because this body of work is so important. And in the arms of history, I want it to look right and be right. I'm so grateful for you all for really just sort of speaking your mind and going with your heart and your passion to move this forward. But having said that, Mr. Reynolds, I just lost my place here. Hold on just a second. He doesn't go forward without, oh, just bear with me a moment, please.
Well, while you looking for that, can I say this, Madam President?
Please do.
Congratulations, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Vice President Lightfoot.
Yeah.
And congratulations, PAB.
I'm working on 2 computers and I always have a problem. Just a moment.
While you're looking forward, I'll just say congratulations to all. We're looking forward to working with everyone to get the work done on behalf of the people. And so as Councilmember Melinda has indicated, we have a time frame to get the work before the governor, and we're looking forward to getting it done on behalf of all of our citizens. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'll just suffice it to say that we recognize how much work has to be done, and we understand that we have to work together, the PAB and the council. We're going to have to work collaboratively over a long period of time. And I want to caution, though, that I've heard a number of times that the community voted on this, 75% of the electorate voted for PAB. Well, they didn't vote on the text of the legislation. They voted on the overall intent, and it's a good law. But that doesn't mean that every time we bump heads, we're going to have to back up because 75% of the electorate voted this in. It does not mean that we will step away from our responsibility for checks and balances by virtue of the lobbying that seems to be attendant to this, because we all have the desire to do this the right way. We all know that it's going to take a body of continuous work to get it done. But I am totally certain that we're all in it to win it. So again, I want to thank you all and to congratulate Connor. Okay, so we'll continue with our meeting. Next, to the standing committees. What is going on? Councilmember Evans, the Finance Committee report, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. And to the Council, the Finance Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 373, authorizing a professional services agreement for employee assistance program. Introductory number 374, establishing maximum compensation for a professional services agreement for a drug and alcohol testing program. Introductory number 375, authorizing an agreement for employee recruitment and applicant tracking software services. Introductory number 376, authorizing an agreement to upgrade the city's enterprise process and system solution for employee scheduling, time, and attendance. Introductory number 377, authorizing the cancellation or refund of erroneous taxes and charges. Introductory number 378, authorizing funding agreement and budget amendments for the Financial Empowerment Center initiative. And introductory number 379, authorizing agreements relating to small business and entrepreneur support. The following entitled legislation is being held in committee. Introductory number 394, local law amending the city charter to establish an office of Inspector General. This report was respectfully submitted by Council members Lachey D. Harris, Michael A. Patterson, Vice President Willie J. Lightfoot, Council President Loretta C. Scott, and myself, Malik D. Evans.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. That report will be received and filed, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 373, legislation authorizing a professional services agreement for the Employee Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 374, legislation establishing maximum compensation for a professional services agreement for a drug and alcohol testing program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 375, legislation authorizing an agreement for employee recruitment and applicant tracking software and services. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 376, legislation authorizing an agreement to upgrade the city's enterprise process and system solution for employee scheduling time and attendance. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 377, legislation authorizing the cancellation or refund of erroneous taxes and charges. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 378, legislation authorizing a funding agreement and budgetary amendments for the Financial Empowerment Center initiatives. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All
For the
opposed, say
record,
nay.
Madam President, I just
Yes.
want to acknowledge that I'm on the REDCO board.
And Council Patterson disclosed as well.
Yeah, but that was part of the disclosure we did.
Right,
Again.
did earlier. Okay. Oh, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, say nay. Okay.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 379, legislation authorizing agreements relating to small business and entrepreneurial support. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Madam President, I also am, yes, 8-0.
Okay, that's 0 with Councilmember Melendez abstaining.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0-1 into the record with Councilmember Melendez abstaining.
Councilmember Patterson, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. To the council, the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 380, authorizing the sale of real estate. Introductory number 382, amending ordinance number 2020-293 in relation to the L2P West Side Housing Project. Introductory number 395, authorizing sale of city-owned parcels, a $1 million home loan, and a payment in lieu of taxes agreement for the CDS Clifford and Joseph Avenue apartment complex. The following entitled legislation is being held in committee. Introductory number 381, authorizing and funding an agreement related to land management software acquisition and implementation. This report is respectfully submitted by Council President Loretta C. Scott, Council Vice President Willie J. Lightfoot, Council members Mary Lupian and Miguel Melendez, and myself, Michael A. Patterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 380, legislation authorizing the sale of real estate. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 382, legislation amending ordinance number 2020-293 in relation to the L2P West Side Housing Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 395, legislation authorizing the sale of city-owned parcels, the acceptance of a home loan, and a pilot agreement related to the CDS Clifford and Joseph Avenue Apartments project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Councilmember Gruber, the Parks and Public Works Committee report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. To the Council, the Parks and Public Works Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 383, authorizing agreements for the River Street Realignment Project. Introductory number 384, authorizing an appropriation and amending ordinance number 2019-201 for the State Street Reconstruction Project. Introductory number 385, a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the state aid program eligible costs of a capital project and appropriating funds therefore. Introductory number 386, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $925,000 bonds of said city to finance the McGuire Building renovation project. And finally, introductory number 387, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to the McGuire Building renovation project. This report was respectfully submitted by Councilmember Malik Evans, Councilmember Jose Pio, Council Vice President Willie Lightfoot, Council President Loretta Scott, and myself, Councilmember Mitch Gruber.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 383, legislation authorizing agreements for the River Street Realignment Project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 384, legislation authorizing an appropriation for the State Street Reconstruction Project and amending ordinance number 2019-201. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupien voting no.
Introductory number 386, a bond ordinance for the City of Rochester to finance the McGuire Building renovation project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupien,
Yes.
Councilmember Melendez,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pio,
Yes.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
President Scott.
Yes. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 387, legislation authorizing an amendatory agreement related to the McGuire Building renovation project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Vice President Lightfoot, the public safety youth, no, the
What is
public, the public
It's-
safety
sorry,
and
President
human
Scott.
services.
We kept it with the name for this month, and we'll be changing it with the next month's submission of legislation.
All right.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President. To the Council of the Public Safety, Youth and Recreation Committee, soon to be Public Safety, Human Services, Recreation and Human Services Committee recommends for adoption the following title legislation. Introductory number 372, authorizing agreement and funding to review critical policy procedures and training requirements of the Rochester Police Department. Introductory number 388, authorizing animal services licensing operating agreement with the Friends of Verona Street Animal Shelter Incorporated. Introductory number 389, appropriating funds from the sales of mounted police patrol horse. Introductory number 390, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement and funding for the 2021 Stop DWI program. Introduction number 391, authorizing a license agreement to operate Early Childhood Development Center in the David F. Gant R Center. Introductory number 392, authorizing an agreement for the Flower City AmeriCorps program. Introduction number 393, accepting and appropriating a grant for fire prevention and safety education, respectfully submitted by Councilmember Gruber, Mitch Gruber, Councilmember Lachey D. Harris, Councilmember Jose Peo, myself, Willie J. Lightfoot, and President Loretta C. Scott.
Thank you, Vice President Lightfoot. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 372, legislation authorizing an agreement and funding to review critical policies, procedures, and training requirements of the Rochester Police Department. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 8-1.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 388, legislation authorizing an animal services licensing and operating agreement with the Friends of the Verona Street Animal Shelter Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 389, legislation appropriating funds from the sale of a mounted police patrol horse. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried. I'm sorry, was there a nay?
Nay.
Uh,
No
Motion
pun
carries
intended.
8-1.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 390, legislation authorizing an intermunicipal agreement and funding for the 2021 Stop DWI program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 7-2 with Council members Gruber and Lupian.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 7-2 into the record with Councilmember Gruber and Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 391, legislation authorizing a license agreement for an early childhood development center at the David F. Gant, our center. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed say nay.
One abstention, President Scott.
Motion carries 9-0. No, I'm sorry, 8-1.
8-0-1.
Yes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 8-0-1 into the record with Councilmember Gruber abstaining.
Introductory number 392, legislation authorizing a grant agreement for the Flower City AmeriCorps program. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Introductory number 393, legislation accepting and appropriating a grant for fire prevention and safety education. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 9-0.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 9-0 into the record.
Is there any miscellaneous business to come before City Council this evening? If there is none, I'd like to again thank you all for joining us and announce that this meeting is adjourned. Good night.
Right.